שהיה, היה ונגמר, מה שיהיה זה כל מה שנשאר. מה שהיה תם ונשלם, אתה כבר לא הולך לשם. מה שהיה, היה ונזכר, מה שפתוח זה רק המחר. היה ונגמר, מה שיהיה זה כל מה שנשאר. מה שהיה תם ונשלם, אתה כבר לא הולך לשם. מה שהיה, היה ונזכר, מה שפתוח זה רק המחר. מחר הכל יתבהר, רק צריך להאמין שאפשר לחכות עד מחר. מחר השמש תזרח וכולנו נשמח ולא נצטרך עוד לבכות. מחר הכל יתבהר, הכאב ייגמר, רק צריך להאמין שאפשר לחכות עד מחר.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm going to pass the screen to our students. I'm Tikva Wiener. I'm the head of school of the Idea School. I'm going to pass our screen or the virtual mic to Ezra Glassman and Sarah Gorbatov, two of the juniors at the Idea School.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Idea School 2020 Open House. I'm your co-MC, Sarah Gorbatov. I'm a junior and part of the founding class. I'm so glad to see so many new faces ready to take on such a forward-thinking learning model to take on the Idea School. It proves our little experiment a couple of years ago was successful, and that people like all of you are excited to try something new, step outside of your comfort zones, and express yourselves creatively. Really, those are the only prerequisites for our school, being open-minded and passionate. As for myself, you'd think that after many an interrogation, interview, questioning about the Idea School and PBL in a Jewish environment, I'd have this memorized monologue at the ready, praising X, Y, and Z aspects about the school. But in reality, I have something spontaneous and new to say every time. And that's a tribute, I think, to how the school for me has been endlessly inspiring, encouraging, and the perfect place to learn, to explore myself and my passions, and to grow into who I am today. After the first week of school freshman year, I would come home and I would realize my face was hurting. And it took me a second, but I soon learned that it was because I had been smiling and laughing so much throughout the day. That's the sort of utopia the Idea School has been for me, a place that has kindled in me a desire to learn, and moreover to learn alongside others that I had never come across before. But I'll spare you the pretty words. We have a great program for you tonight and plenty of teachers and some of my fellow students to share with you their experiences and thoughts, one of them being Ezra, my co-MC. Ezra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ezra Glassman, and I am the other co-MC, and I'm in the 11th grade of the Idea School, and I've been here since year 1 too. And we're gonna have a really fun night. We have a lot of fun activities and questions in store, and hopefully we can give you a better idea of what the Idea School is all about. We know how difficult it could be to fully portray what it's like to be in a school through Zoom, especially a school like the Idea School that's more hands-on and more collaborative than other schools. But I think that we're going to give you a good idea as to what really goes on here and what it's like to be a student at the Idea School. So we're going to start with an opening activity for everybody. So in the chat, name one emotion you experienced when you completed a project that you did either in school, or if you're a parent, in your work, or just in your free time or in your life. Any project that you did, and one word that describes how it felt when you finished.
Yeah, remember, there is no wrong answer. We just want to get to know each and every one of you a bit and familiarize ourselves with you guys, despite the ickiness of meeting people through Zoom.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of awesome different answers. Wow. These answers are a lot more broad and different than I expected them to be, and that's great. So Sarah, do you want to introduce what we're going to do next?
Yeah, so I would like to actually introduce our head of school, Ms. Wiener, to talk about project-based learning and how we implement it into our curriculum and our modus operandi.
Thanks, Sarah. And welcome to the Idea School's virtual open house, 5781. To be honest, it really feels strange doing a virtual open house for a school that's all about hands-on learning. But if there's anything we've learned during the pandemic, it's that we need to be flexible, adaptive, and creative in our thinking. And in truth, that's what the Idea School is all about. We give students the skills they need to thrive in a world that's constantly changing. You'll get a lot of that. You'll hear a lot about that tonight. So you're here to get a sense of what the school is all about. And I want to stress that this should just be one connection you make with us. In this hour, we'll introduce you to what project-based learning is, show you how it works in our classes, why it's such an important part of our students' emotional and social growth. We'll also show you that it gives students the critical skills they need to succeed in today's workplace and in every area of their lives. If you Google the top skills today's workers need in the workplace, all of them are ones we emphasize over and over again at the school. But PBL isn't just for the workplace, it's for life. The emotional and social tools it gives our students is setting them up for success as spouses, partners, parents, and friends. It shows them they have the ability to know themselves well and develop passions and interests that give value to their lives. It gives them the strength and confidence to persevere when they're trying something new, and it demonstrates that there's nothing to be ashamed of when something doesn't work. We're also really interested in how learning makes an impact in the real world. Every student should understand that the information they're learning in the classroom matters, that the ways that the ancient, medieval, and modern civilizations built the world still affect us today, that mathematical and scientific breakthroughs have given us and continue to give us a quality of life that past civilizations could never have imagined, and that we have the power to harness all that our ancestors have done in order to continue to perfect a world that is still very broken and in need of fixing. And that brings me to our approach to Judaic studies. Our theme this year is from Pirkei Avot, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin lihibatel mimena, Of course, it's a very famous Mishnah. You are not obligated to finish the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. We look to the Torah and our Judaism at the Idea School, which tell us over and over again through biblical exhortations and a complex set of halachot that we must pursue tzedek umishpat, justice and righteousness, and always act in upright, ethical, and moral ways. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai, to affix the world in the kingdom of God, means at the Idea School that we are always thinking about how to use our knowledge and skills to improve the lot of those who are less fortunate. Indeed, we do pick up the work of repairing the world, even knowing we may not finish it. So what exactly is PBL, project-based learning? PBL is an educational model that centers learning around questions, ideas, and problems that are important in the world and to students. So the learning is always relevant, meaningful, and yes, engaging and fun. We believe learning should be fun at the Idea Schools. The questions we ask here are designed to get students asking more questions, thinking about how the world works, and figuring out solutions to the problems that beset it. Along the way, students write, calculate, hypothesize, build, and iterate, creating large and small projects, what we call deliverables. They collaborate, communicate, and help each other revise their work. When the unit is done, the students present final and larger projects in an exhibition of student learning, to which their parents and the entire community is invited. In this way, we celebrate with students their learning in a siyum-like manner. To be clear, we do give some tests and quizzes in the school, but they're not the end of a learning unit. They're part of the process. And in that vein, we also do give homework. I want to get on with our program tonight, so I'll leave you with a final thought. A lot of people ask us, why a Jewish project-based learning school? For me, the answer relates to the teachings of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, a Gadol Hador we lost this past week. In his book, To Heal a Fractured World, Rabbi Sacks introduces novel ways of seeing the opening stories of the Torah. On Adam and Chava's story, Rabbi Sacks comments that God was not surprised when the first man and woman sinned. They were human. They were built to sin, to make mistakes. So God wasn't upset when they did so. He was upset that they didn't take responsibility for their actions, that they tried to hide their sin. It's such a human quality to hide in shame when we do something wrong. And I think we can all relate to that feeling. We also sometimes feel it when we do badly on a test. We want to hide the test and our very selves from the world. Somehow we did not live up to our expectations. But Rabbi Sacks's point is that we should not be afraid of sin. We should rather be afraid of who we become if we don't acknowledge our wrongdoings and weaknesses. The Idea School is a place where we can feel safe showing weakness and where we're given the tools to grow strong and constantly improve on ourselves. In the Avraham stories, Rabbi Sacks points out the model of a human that Hashem wants us to be. We are descendants of Avraham when we argue with God, as Avraham did, for mercy for our fellow creatures, not just when they deserve it, but even when they don't. Avraham doesn't give up on the people of stone, not even when God does. The Idea School is a place where we do not give up on humankind, where we take our Torah and the teachings of the world and we go out and fight, as Avraham did, on behalf of our fellow people and the planet itself. As you may be able to tell, the Idea School is also a place where our students' voices matter very much to us. So I'd like to pass the virtual mic back to our juniors, Ezra and Sarah, our MCs for the evening. We hope you enjoy the program.
Thank you, Ms. Wiener. So now we're going to move on to our panel, where we're going to be asking questions to some of the teachers and students of the Idea School, so we can get a better sense of what it's like to be a student and what it's like to learn at the Idea School. So Sarah, do you want to ask the first question?
Yeah, let's kick it off with a question for our head of humanities. Mrs. Edelman, can you describe the academic rigor of the PBL model?
Yeah, I would love to address the academic rigor. Hang on for just a second. I just have to get out of my screen for 1 second. Okay, sorry. Yes, so hi. I'm Nancy Edelman, head of humanities. Project-based learning, in which students use everything they have learned to create a real-world product, is academically rigorous by design. To create a high-quality deliverable, students must engage in meaningful research, reading, and writing, in addition to responding to feedback and revising accordingly. A great example of what this looks like in my humanities class is the Merchant of Venice project my sophomores did last year. The task: adapt and film a scene from Shakespeare's play. Over the course of the trimester, students first learned the historical context of both the play and European anti-Semitism in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. They read and studied the play in class, read articles about its anti-Semitism, and wrote their own op-eds about it. They learned about dramaturgy with the drama teacher, researched historical eras in which to stage their assigned scenes, and then tried out screenwriting, cinematography, acting, directing, and film production in their groups. A standard unit of study of a Shakespeare play became exponentially rigorous using our PBL approach. And more importantly, students became exponentially more engaged in their learning than they might otherwise have.
Thank you, Ms. Edelman. Yeah, definitely I had a ton of fun with that project, and I think that it really kept me engaged in learning the actual play, because I not only had to adapt it, but I also had to stage it. And unlike just reading the play, we really had to put it on and really understand what was going on in the play. So the next question is for Rabbi Kozlow. Can you tell us how project-based learning works in Judaic studies?
Sure, Ezra. Hi, everyone. I'm Rabbi Tavi Kozlow, the Judaic Studies principal here at the Idea School. Just as we want our students here to think and act as historians, mathematicians, and scientists, the PBL model demands nothing less in Judaic studies. We want our students to understand what it is to be a Beit Midrashist. If you're not familiar with the term, it's probably because we just made it up. But let me explain. A few months ago, I was asked by the shul I attend, Rinat Yisrael, to be part of their transition team as they look to hire a new rabbi. After hours of meetings, focus groups, and Google Forms, do you know what members of the shul wanted most from their new rabbi? Someone who can share beautiful and thoughtful words of Torah that will lead our congregation and the world to a better place. Well, how do you do that? How does one become a person who can be that for others? It starts with connecting deeply with our Jewish texts, whether they be Tanakh, Gemara, Halacha, Jewish history, or Jewish philosophy. Don't just read, translate, and turn the page. Stay on that page. Connect with the people, the challenges, and the hopes on that page. After that, you need to build your capacity to question and wonder. This isn't an easy step because as your teacher, I'm not going to tell you any of mine. This is the time, and our school is the place for you to exercise that muscle day after day of asking good questions. Then comes the fun part, developing your own voice of interpretation. What do you think Abraham looked like as he was about to sacrifice his son? How would you illustrate the scene of Ruth deciding to join Naomi back to Beit Lechem? If you created your own kosher symbol, what would it look like and why? And now that you have something to say, it's not enough to share it with me. It's time to share your questions and your interpretations with the community and the world around us. Whether that be in the form of an iBook that we published on the Apple Store with commentary and illustrations on Megillat Ruth, or a kosher food truck that we worked on to be a traveling display of all we learned about the laws of kashrut, or the Shavuot Leil Iyun program that we put on for the community in the midst of quarantine about modern applications of halacha. That is what it means to be a Beit Midrashist, and that is our goal each and every day in Judaic Studies at the Idea School.
Thank you, Rabbi Kozlow. Yeah, the food truck, what fun, what an adventure. We learned about all of the rules and laws of kashrut, then divided ourselves into a legal committee, a financial one, a social media one, a food one, and built an entire business from the ground up, a kosher food truck called Project Parmesan. It was great. Okay, Felicia, if you could talk a bit more about PBL and how it works in our school specifically and how we've implemented it into our curriculum.
Hi, I'm Felicia Stendig, and I'm a junior at the Idea School, and I've been here since the very beginning of the school. So when starting off a trimester in school, we begin in a more traditional, informal, and frontal way. However, as we continue through the process of learning, we are tasked with creating a mini project based off of what we were learning at the time. These deliverables highlight a major topic that has a significant impact on our trimester's theme. There are a few different times when we make mini projects, and this not only helps us understand the material, but also helps us retain the information for long term. Based off these mini projects we create, towards the end of the trimester, we create a big project with the topics based off of the subjects we learned. These mini projects can help us with this complete project. It mostly has all the key concepts we need. Then we present both our mini projects and full and complete projects at exhibition, which is open to the public, and we need to be audience ready. Mostly, we focus on iteration and creating our own work to be audience ready, as we do both in a formal learning experience and a hands-on project work. As you can see behind me, there's a poster board from our chemistry class last year where we were learning about our part in polluting the world. This poster board has all the steps taken that we learned about and that I used as part of the project.
Thank you, Felicia. Yeah, definitely. I think it's super helpful that we do smaller projects and more frontal learning towards the beginning of the semester. But then as we get closer to the end, once we have a better grasp of the information, I think we start doing larger and larger projects that we can add our own creativity to. So now we're going to move on to Miss Sommer. Can you let us know how math works at the Idea School?
Hi, I'm Ruchi Sommer. I'm the head of math and science, as well as the dean of student life here. In a PBL school, as expected, we incorporate modeling and applications into our math classes. Last year, for example, we addressed the question of how can predictive modeling be used to help choose a business to start that could succeed independent of the economic impact of a difficult time, including COVID-19. Using regression equations, we tracked data and tried to make sense of the economic impact of a global pandemic. But truly at its heart, math is more traditional than any other subject at the Idea School. Yet the flexibility of our daily schedule allows us to place students in math classes that meet their academic needs, not just their schedule. For example, students are not tied to just being in the ninth grade offerings of classes. Last year, at the beginning of the year, we realized that we had a few freshmen who were ready for the challenges of Algebra 2. We created a schedule that allowed them to complete both Honors Geometry and Honors Algebra 2. These sophomores are currently enrolled in calculus and are preparing for an AP exam in the spring. Of course, we also have grade level and support classes to help students thrive and grow independent of the skills that they come to us with.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sommer. It's wonderful that the curriculum is tailored to the students. It meets us where we are as opposed to us having to chase after it. Like, for one unpopular opinion, I am obsessed with math. I think it's such fun, and thus I'm taking a Calculus 2 university class during school hours. Whatever level of math you're at will give you the resources to broaden your horizons and learn as much as possible.
Yeah, and since Sarah is at a higher level math than me, she also helps me with my work, and I think that is also a big part of the Idea School. Is it fosters this community that allows the students to teach each other new skills, not just the teachers themselves teaching the students. Like in Sarah's chemistry project, where she was using the 3D modeling software Blender. I am pretty proficient at Blender, while Sarah was just starting out, so I was able to help her with that project.
Yes, thank you very much for that answer. Okay, Leah and Jacob, as students at the Idea School, original students as well, what do you see as the benefits of learning in this non-traditional way?
Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm a junior. There are many benefits in learning this way, but one main one is building confidence. When I entered freshman year, I remember being very anxious when presenting projects and doing public speaking. But with the help and support of my teachers, I now feel more confident to present my work. And I can also say that I've seen a tremendous growth in the way my classmates present. Another benefit of learning this way is that you learn that communication is key when it comes to working in a group and getting work done. One time when I was assigned a project with a group, we decided to meet before every class to discuss what everyone was doing. So every morning we knew what had to get done by the end of the day. I saw that communication clearly led to good results. I'll now pass it on to Jacob.
Hi, my name is Jacob Luke, and I'm a junior at the Idea School. I think there's a lot of benefits of project-based learning. Through PBL, we're taught so many life skills. For example, one of the projects they were given last year was presenting a sales pitch to the board of the school about making a profitable business through a food truck. Talking to the founders of the school would have been an impossible thing for me to do if I hadn't already been a student here since the 9th grade. Even though that part of the project took public speaking skills, the school is able to incorporate other benefits by making us go out of our comfort zone. My main job was figuring out the marketing of the food truck, which is something I had zero knowledge about beforehand. Another project we had was to create a wind-powered energy source for our engineering class. For a range of problems that affect us on a global level. In addition to that, we had to learn how to convert wind energy into electricity through our coding knowledge. And these are only two examples of how important project-based learning is for life in general. So the essential benefit of PBL, in my opinion, is how it translates to a necessary skill set that can be used indefinitely.
Thank you, Jacob. You were a little laggy for me, but I think that we heard most of what you said. And I think I definitely agree that project-based learning, it really, since it puts the student in the driver's seat, and sort of throws you into the deep end, it makes you into a more collaborative person that wants to put more effort into their work. And as somebody that came into the Idea School as a less motivated student, that had the potential of really succeeding in school, it was very beneficial to me to be put into a situation where I really needed to succeed for myself, but not only for myself, to also not let down my peers that were in groups with me. So now we're going to ask Miriam. So how does exhibition allow you to express your mastery and knowledge?
Thanks for asking. Hi, I'm Miriam Bro. I'm in 10th grade here at the Idea School, and exhibition allows you to show off what you've learned the past trimester or semester by basically taking all that you've learned in a certain curriculum and putting it into a project that allows you to express your unique abilities into something that shows everyone, including your friends, your family, people from the community, things that you learned yourself instead of just listening in class and doing homework, and which we do have. But in general, exhibition is so incredibly rewarding in the sense that when you display everything, you look at your work and you're like, wow, I did that. And you see what you yourself learned. And I think that that's something that everyone deserves to experience.
Yeah, exhibition. It's the highlight of the trimester. So much collective, chaotic energy and people running up and down the halls, laminating, debugging code. Everyone is so wholeheartedly invested in their projects. It's a beautiful sight and never fails to be an extravaganza better than the last. So Aryeh, what exactly is the inquiry model and why do you think it's important for students?
Thank you for asking, Sarah. Hi, my name is Aryeh Laufer. I teach engineering and inquiry here at the Idea School. And as an aside, every student at the Idea School actually learns the fundamentals of engineering and entrepreneurship and take this class called Inquiry because we believe as a school that each and every student has a unique and creative vision that they can and should share with the world to better it. So to your question, Sarah, in our inquiry classes, students are given the opportunity and challenge of directing their own creative learning pathway and explore various artistic mediums like 3D printing, painting, woodworking, anything they could find in our makerspace. And they connect with experts and advisors in the world and fields of their interests and work on individual or collaborative real-world projects which reflect their chosen creative visions. Students are currently working on a biodegradable fashion line, Sarah, a new critical edition of Jewish text, script writing, filming, and even a student who's creating a computer from scratch. And we do all of this because we fully believe in you, our students and future students, to harness your passions, engage in your deep learning processes, learn from your inevitable mistakes, openly dialogue, and make decisions with your peers. And last but not least, we have tons of fun collaborating and creating, making real and lasting friendships through the group projects, spending late nights at school, finishing preparations for exhibition. And as Miriam was saying, there's no better feeling than succeeding and getting those servo motors, clay sculptures, or coding simulations done in time for exhibition. And it's the friendships and relationships which we all create and cultivate through our passion projects, which make our school, and I think the inquiry model, so special.
Yeah. I think that inquiry is super important because it allows the student to really dive deep into what their interests are, and that's such an important part of school is the ability of the student to pursue their interests. And Sarah can talk about that more a little bit because I know that she has a really cool inquiry project that you might want to share.
Yeah, as already mentioned, I am designing my own biodegradable fashion line. And what I love about the Idea School is that I've always been a very individualistic person, but it pushes me to step outside of that bubble and not only interact with my fellow students and teachers, but to interact with my role models that I would never otherwise consider reaching out to. There's so much awkward, desperate emailing and, my friends encouraging me to pursue what I want to pursue, no matter how ambitious or strange it is. And it's so wonderful because now I'm actually able to do what I love and I'm not afraid to. So, Ezra, passing it along to you.
Okay, so Nathaniel, can you tell us what's most challenging about the PBL model?
Hi, my name is Nathaniel Bierig, and I'm a sophomore at the Idea School. You might think that the hardest thing about project-based learning might be time management, or maybe on some projects working as a group. But one of the most challenging problems that me and many of my classmates have to deal with isn't actually working on the project. It's what you have to do before the project that is most challenging. You have to think of an idea for your project. Not only that, it has to be a really good idea. The thing that other students and I spend some of the most time on is just brainstorming a good idea for our project. The teacher will give you some requirements for the project, but besides that, it's up to you to use your creativity and create a project representing what you learned. You also have to plan it. When you start a project without planning and making an outline for your project, you'll just be stuck there trying to figure out what to do, and you'll have to go back to the drawing board, so it's better to plan it from the start. For example, in engineering last year, on a project where I had to build a wind turbine, in my first iteration of it, I made the wind turbine way too short and all of the blades kept falling off. So I went back to the drawing board and completely redesigned it. And from there, I designed and built what would become the second best wind turbine in the class. But once you think of an idea and plan it out, your project is usually much easier from there, usually.
Yeah, what's challenging for me has always been streamlining my work. My one-pagers, Ms. Edelman, can inform you, were once 10 pages. Now they're 2, 3 max. I've learned to express myself concisely and powerfully, and that's thanks to guidance from my incredible teachers. So, Rabbi Rothblatt, what do you love most about teaching at the Idea School?
Oh, thank you for asking. My name is Zachary Rothblatt. I'm a member of the Judaic Studies faculty at the Idea School. I also work in our skills program where we teach students how to develop the skills for the projects twice a week. I've been here since the beginning, gratefully. So there are many reasons why I love teaching at the Idea School. One concept that really, I think, overarchingly describes this idea is a Torah thought. We've learned in recent weeks about the journey of Avram and Sarah to the land of Canaan, how they entered the land of Canaan, Abraham and Sarah. And the Torah describes that they brought with them, when they entered the land, Hanefesh asher asu b'Charan, literally the souls that they made in the land of Haran. And the rabbis teach us that this is in fact the people that they inspired to join them on their religious mission of monotheism. I fundamentally believe that this is emblematic of what we do at the Idea School. Every day I come in and teach, but in a model of project-based learning, the focus is on the student. The focus is on developing the individual, and we sit and we watch them form their soul, both emotionally, physically, mentally, religiously. And that for me is the greatest joy, to watch students develop their own souls.
Thank you, Rabbi Rothblatt. Okay, so now we are going to move on we're going to watch a video that sort of showcases 3 different projects that students have been doing this year. And I think it's going to be really good to help all of you get a better sense of what it's like to be in the school and doing these projects hands-on.
Hello, I'm Sarah Gorbatov. I'm a junior and OG student at the Idea School, and as a part of this video, 3 students will be sharing various projects that they have partaken in. Yehuda Zinberg will be sharing a Judaic Studies project that he undertook last year in his Chabura group, and Leah Masri and Felicia Stendig will be sharing an engineering project that they pursued in inquiry, and I will be sharing one of my favorite chemistry projects that we pursued in chemengineering, chemistry, and engineering last school year. So this was a project that initially we were hoping to create some sort of visual physical representation with about nuclear power and energy, since that's what we were covering throughout the trimester. But obviously that wasn't possible anymore because we were quarantining. And so we had to adapt this project and make it more digitally friendly and digital multimedia software-esque. And I'm so glad that we had to do that now, because it really broadened my horizons and caused me to step outside of my comfort zone and explore Blender specifically, which is a notoriously difficult 3D design software that all sorts of filmmakers and data analysts and video game designers alike use to create simulations and models. And I used it to model Le Chatelier's principle of equilibrium, which is a principle that states that any system of products and reactants will inevitably reach equilibrium, a state of harmonious balance. And I thought that was kind of fitting for the situation, because obviously everything was very chaotic with the lockdown and Zoom, and it was ironic but nice. And yeah, other people, they pursued different topics in chemistry, such as the ideal gas law, such as redox reactions, such as acid-base reactions, and they used a programming language called processing to create a simulation. Some people created physical flip books. Ezra and I used Blender, and he helped me a lot with my simulation because he was familiar with the software. I had help from Gov and many YouTube tutorials, and I will admit that the project was a lot of work, and I spent many hours, perhaps too many hours, perfecting my simulation, and it was a stressful feat. But I eventually overcame it, and I was able to create something that I'm very proud of, and that at first sight doesn't seem in depth, but it is very detailed. There's a fire that's burning, and there's these silver nitrate droplets that fall into the liquid in the beaker and create splashes, and there are all of these crystal lattices that are forming in the liquid because of the system reaching equilibrium, and there's so much packed into it. And I was honestly at certain points thinking of giving up, but I didn't. And I didn't because this project was something that I had never tried before, and I wanted to prove to myself that I was ready to take on something challenging. And this challenging thing for me was probably the best thing I've ever done. It was so much fun, and I'm so glad that I was given the opportunity to try something new.
Hi, my name is Yehuda Zinberg, and I am in 10th grade at the Idea School. Last year, one of our most independent classes was known as Chabura, sort of higher-level Jewish text-based class that was run by Rabbi Rothblatt and focused on topics that interested us, the students, in Jewish philosophy, such as what happens when we die, and what does the Jewish afterlife look like. For our second exhibition of learning last year, we were to do a creative project in any of these deep Jewish philosophical topics. One student made a detailed presentation comparing the afterlife depicted on the comedy TV show The Good Place with what medieval sources tell us about the Jewish afterlife, while another created meticulous depictions of various Jewish mythical characters in sources like the Talmud. I was particularly interested with the idea of Gehinnom, a place in Jewish literature that is often somewhat erroneously described as the Jewish version of hell. There's a rather obscure Jewish text known as Masechet Gehinnom, which contains detailed descriptions of this not often talked about section of Jewish thought. I took upon myself the task of doing manuscript research on, and eventually doing a full English translation of Masechet Gehinnom. This would be the first ever translation of the work into any other language. And as you can see here, if you go onto the website on sefaria.org, it is all there. This type of project is truly indicative of what the Idea School is all about. Students pursuing their own passions in a much deeper and personal way. I gained many skills from this project, such as how to do manuscript research on Jewish texts, how to translate Jewish and Hebrew texts, and an incredibly deep understanding of Masechet Gehinnom and how it portrays Gehinnom as a whole. And now this translation is there for anyone in the world to see and benefit from. Not only do our projects help ourselves in ways that standard curriculums can only dream of, but they also help others too, and that is what we stand for at the Idea School.
Hi, I'm Leah. And I'm Felicia, and we're both juniors. T-Case is a phone case targeted to help people who struggle with stress or anxiety. T-Case also has 3 to 6 removable strips of textured materials so that the user can customize it to what they need. Typically, stress or anxiety manifests in unhealthy ways, such as becoming fidgety or loud and disruptive. However, T-Case is a phone case that's going to help people manage their stress and anxiety in a discreet manner by them controlling what they need and how they're going to use it by the different textures and materials that they get to customize.
For our first iterations, we decided to use a 3D printer that we have in our school, and we made about 7, 8 iterations until we realized we got fully wrong measurements. And these are the iterations. And our last iteration, we finally got the correct one.
So, as you can tell throughout the first few steps of our project, we've encountered a lot of fails and issues. However, we've had enough perseverance to keep going, and we have the confidence to keep pushing forward even through more issues that will arise.
Thank you, Rabbi Kozlow, for putting together that video. It was lovely. Now I'll pass along the mic to you to share your Devar Torah.
Thanks so much, Sarah. As Ms. Wiener mentioned earlier tonight, we at the Idea School join the rest of the Jewish world, and yes, the world at large, in mourning the incredible loss of Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, a giant of philosophy, theology, and courageous morality. In his memory, I'd like to share a brief Devar Torah inspired by another one of his writings. While we are only a few parshiot into the beginning of Sefer Bereshit, we have already read several complicated narratives regarding our understanding of God's ways, as well as what seems to be human indifference. God permits Adam and Eve to eat fruit from all the trees except one, which would ultimately lead to the devastating punishment of being banished from the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve seem to accept their punishment without hesitation. In the next parasha, God takes note of the wickedness of the world and decides to put an end to all of humanity. He tells Noah to build an ark, save just the animals and his immediate family, and Noah quietly does just as he is told. Shortly after, in the land of Shinar, people got together to build a tower to the heavens. God disapproves, mixes up their languages, and scatters the people throughout the land without providing any clear indication in the text of what exactly they did wrong. In short, Sefer Bereshit presents us with story after story of God's judgments without providing much explanation as to the severity of those punishments, and also without receiving any questioning from mankind. And then we are introduced to Avraham. While we know nothing about his earlier years, the events that are recorded paint a picture of a man with a remarkably different temperament than his predecessors. When a dispute arose between his shepherds and those of his nephew Lot, he took note of the issue and acted. The families would need to part ways in order to remain civil. Shortly after, a local war breaks out and Lot is taken captive. Avraham refuses to accept his fate, so he gathers together a small force and rescues Lot along with the other captives. Which brings us to Avraham's ultimate moment of defiance in this week's parsha, when he refuses to silently accept God's decision to destroy the city of Sodom. While Avraham's inner chutzpah is impressive, it seems that God was expecting nothing less. Why else would he inform Avraham of his plans to destroy Sodom beforehand? How are we to understand that? What exactly is God looking for from Avraham? In the words of Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, alav shalom, the answer is surely this. Avraham was to become the role model and initiator of a new faith, one that would not defend the human status quo, but challenge it. Avraham had to have the courage to challenge God if his descendants were to challenge human rulers, as Moshe and the prophets did. Jews do not accept the world that is, they challenge it in the name of the world that ought to be. This is a critical turning point in human history, the birth of the world's first religion of protest, a faith that challenges the world instead of accepting it. Our tradition, the tradition that Avram passed down to us, is one of questions. If you see something, say something, or better yet, do something. But relying on the DNA of Abraham within us is not enough. We need to continue to inspire the inner voice inside each of us to ask good questions, to seek out thoughtful and meaningful answers, and then to do something with that newfound information. That is our Misorah, and that is our driving mission here at the Idea School. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi Kozlow. So now we're going to move on to our Q&A section, where the students are going to have where all of you are going to have a chance to ask questions for the students and the teachers. So I'm going to pass the mic to Ms. Weiner, who is going to tell you more about the Q&A session and what to do.
Sarah and Ezra, thank you so much for co-hosting that first part of the open house. I'm so grateful. We're also grateful. I also want to just tell you now we'd like to take your questions. So please, in the chat, find Tamar 11 and please submit any questions that you may have to her. Obviously, we won't be able to answer all of your questions tonight, but again, as I said, this should be seen as just like one connection that you've made with the school, and we'd love to have you come to our parlor meetings, have you, obviously schedule an interview or a meeting with us. So please do feel free to reach out if you have, if you want to connect with us. So right now, as you submit your questions to Miss Levin, again, that's Tamara Levin. She's our Director of Admissions, and you'll hear from her in a bit. I'd like to actually ask a first frequently asked question to Miss Dana Ponsky, who is our Director of College Counseling, because a lot of questions, we often get the question of like, what about PBL and college admission? What about the college admission process and our model?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Ponsky. I'm the new director of college counseling. And usually what I tell people when thinking about project-based learning and how it's dealt with in terms of the world of college admissions is that colleges these days are really looking for more than just grades and test scores when it comes to a student. They're really looking for the holistic person. And if you read the news and you know what's going on with college admissions, especially when it's talking about test scores, colleges are realizing we can't rely on an ACT or an SAT. We need to be relying on students' essays, students' projects, things they're doing outside of the school. And so what I oftentimes like to say about project-based learning is that, as you've heard so much tonight, students are given the opportunity to really develop skills, whether it's collaboration, decision-making, problem-solving, public speaking skills, all these different skills that are not just necessary for completing a project in school, but are necessary for what you're going to be doing while you're in college, and even more importantly, what you're doing out once you leave college and move on into the real world. And I think colleges are really looking to non-traditional curriculum like we have, where we can go ahead and have students who are already prepared for this to come into the campus and share that with their student body. There are even schools out there now that are starting to take on project-based learning as part of their programs at the university level. So I think that there's a lot of connection between what we're doing here at the Idea School and what your student will see when they go off to college. And I think it's just really important because we're not just preparing students to work on projects, but we're really preparing students to work on skills and ideas that they're going to need for their future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ponsky, and we're so lucky to have you at the school. Thank you. So Ms. Levin, what's our first question?
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Ms. Weiner, there are a lot of questions about the schedule of the day. Could you kind of go through what a typical day looks like? What are the hours? And also when we talk about clubs, just talk about when they are during the day.
Okay, sure. So our school day during the regular year is about 8:30 to 5, and that's based on research that students, teenagers in particular, obviously, need a late wake up. And the research has shown that even an 8:30 start, which isn't as late as teenagers probably want it to be, still provides academic and other benefits to students. So we start at 8:30, and again, typically this is non-COVID times. We have almost an hour, 8:30 to 9:25, where we have tefillah talks and tefillah. Tefillah talks are a very special part of the day where we start the day kind of orienting ourselves properly. We talk about maybe different world events that are going on, different tefillot prayers and what they mean. And then that kind of segues us into tefillah, to prayer. After tefillah, we have breakfast, and then usually the first class starts at 9:25. The morning schedule is a rotation of math, engineering, the inquiry class that Arya talked about, as well as Hebrew language, and a skills class. This is a specific skills class that we have to teach students how to do project-based learning by having them do a project. Right now, they're in the middle of doing projects, creating projects for the school, and they learn kind of all the things that they might need to do projects, such as time management, meeting deadlines, collaborating, etc. Those classes are a bit tracked. For example, upon Hebrew language, you can be in the level 1 class if you're not fluent, up to level 4 if you are. And math class, as Ms. Sommer pointed out, there are an array of math classes based on your skill. In the afternoon, there's a rotation of Beit Midrash, humanities, and science. And the idea in mixing and combining, integrating, as I wrote in the slideshow. So we wrote in the slideshow of, let's say, integrating history and literature and integrating, let's say, Judaic studies subjects into one class, is that we can get into deeper learning. That's what we kind of call our model, this kind of deep learning model. You can get into really the learning. Our periods are longer as a result, and that gives students time to really kind of be able to grasp and work through the questions that we're posing before them with the content material. And obviously as well, it gives them a chance to create the things that we were asking them to create, because creating the Blender program or working with the Blender program or creating stop animation videos or wind turbines takes a lot of time. Usually in non-COVID times, as I mentioned, our school day goes till 5. Right now it goes till 3:30. That's because we thought that wearing mask all day would be quite challenging. The students are able to have clubs after school as a result right now very easily, but even when we go till about 5, they still have clubs after school.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Weiner. Another question is coming up. If you can talk a little bit about the support model, and perhaps if Ms. Rothwax is on line as well, we can talk about that. So if you can please describe the kind of support model that we have in the school.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't think Ms. Rothwax is available. So I'll field the question. It's fine. So that the learning support, Ms. Wendy Rothwax is our learning support specialist in the school, our learning specialist. We have both a push in and a push out model. So Ms. Rothwax both enters the classroom, working with the students in the actual classroom that they're in, so that they get the help that they need, and the lessons can be differentiated for them. Oh, Ms. Rothwax is here. Do you want to speak up, Ms. Rothwax? Oh, I actually don't know if she can unmute herself. Okay, so I'll continue to speak. If Donnie, if you want to mute her so she can say hi. Oh, here she is. Hi, Ms. Rothwax.
Hi, okay, thanks. Yeah, I could not unmute myself. Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Rothwax. I'm the learning specialist at the Idea School. As Ms. Weiner mentioned, we do have a pull-out model and a push-in model. I'll work with students either individually, in a small group, or in the classroom. And we really do try to accommodate and modify anything just to help everybody be successful.
Thank you, Ms. Rothwax. It's lovely to see you tonight. Thank you. We're very lucky to have Ms. Rothwax. As I mentioned, also the skills classes are ways that we can help support all the students. So it's another way that we work. And of course, all of our teachers, as you could see, are very, accommodating and supportive of the students, and really work very hard to make sure that each student is getting what they want. I understand there's also a question about, as we grow, how we'll continue to be so individualized and supportive. I think that that's kind of baked into our model. Our class size right now is small. You know, we might have anywhere from 13 to 20 students per class. And obviously as we grow, that will, the class sizes will grow. But I think that we're developing right now a way to approach the learning that's going to serve us well even when we are bigger. And of course, we'll continue to add staff and support staff as we grow as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Another question which came through, which we actually do get a lot, is what types of students, what types of learners work well in this model? We do get this question a lot, and it's always a great question because there are so many different kinds of learners, and we love to say that this model works well for everybody. So Ms. Weiner, if you could talk a little bit about that and what types of learners work well here?
We don't expect, sometimes we get the question and like, do I have to be really creative to come to the Idea School? Do I have to, do I have to have great executive functioning skills, like be a great organizational skills? And the answer is no. You have to be willing, you have to really understand the model. And that's what we really tried to convey to you tonight. Obviously, as I said, it's very challenging to do that, a hands-on learning model on Zoom. But we tried to give you a taste of what the projects are like and what learning is like here. And if it's something that you think you want to do and you want to try, then that's really one of the most important things. And we'll teach you the rest. If you want to ask and talk to one of our students, in the parlor meetings or when you come visit for the day, basically they'll tell you that, they did not have these skills when they came, but that these skills were developed over the course of the years that they've been here. And there's a real growth process that goes on.
Great. Another question is, as the students focus on projects, are they missing out on the breadth of each subject? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we definitely. I definitely would say we're not gonna hedge and say that it's the same amount of information that maybe students are used to in a more typical school, but I think they're learning how to learn, and there isn't a tremendous sacrifice in content. They're really kind of going deep into knowledge and into content. And we're teaching them also the concept of learnability, like the ability to learn new things and the skills that they have to do that. Ezra wants to jump in here and say something.
Yeah, and as somebody in the 11th grade, and I know Sarah can attest to this too, we are going into the process of doing ACT and SAT, and I haven't come to a problem on the test that I've had trouble with because I went to the Idea School. If anything, it's actually helped me with standardized testing because I can think more creatively, and and a lot of people I see, I know a lot of people that are sort of nervous about the Idea School because they think that they won't be prepared for those sort of tests. And let me tell you, and I know Sarah can tell you this too, that it's actually the opposite, that the Idea School only helps us with those kinds of tests.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think all of the historical documents we read in humanities, all of the op-eds and essays we write, all of the theoretical concepts we cover in math, they actually aid our ability to test take. They don't deter us from being able to take exams and excel in the college application process. I think they actually enhance that process.
That actually brings us to another question that came up on a related subject about AP courses. So since it's a brand new school, we need to demonstrate to college standards are very high. Will AP courses be available for juniors or just seniors?
Actually, Ms. Ponsky, do you want to handle this question a little bit?
Sure, I can go ahead. So right now, the Idea School does not participate in the AP program. Participation in the AP program is from a school to school basis. It is one way to let colleges, it's one way to show rigor within a high school curriculum, but it is not the only way to go ahead and do that. And so what high schools that choose to have the AP curriculum are allowing students who are at a college preparatory level who might want to go ahead and enhance the rigor a bit with an AP course, which is the equivalent to college level courses that you could take at a community college through dual enrollment. And so what we do at the Idea School, since the AP program is a very prescribed, standardized curriculum, it kind of contrasts what we do as a project-based learning curriculum. However, the project-based learning curriculum can prepare students quite well for preparation for AP exams, which is the culminating exam that you can take at the end of the year. As we are growing and as I've come on board this year, what we're going to actually look to do in terms of enhancing rigor for our students who want to be able to do that is to look not so much towards an AP program, but more towards dual enrollment options, looking at partnerships and relationships that we can have with Bergen Community College, maybe Rutgers University, maybe universities in other parts of the country, where we could go ahead and have our students say, you know what, I'm really enjoying my science class. I want to do something that's above and beyond what the Idea School has, and I want to enhance or go down a road that, you know, is different, we'll go ahead and kind of marry those two things together by utilizing college level coursework, which to me as a college counselor for the last 10 years, I find is a much better predictor of a student's success at the college level than the AP curriculum is. But I think that we are not totally ignoring the AP. We have something in place in the way that we teach our students that will prepare them, if they so choose to go ahead and take the AP courses, or I'm sorry, the AP test at the end of the school year.
As someone, sorry, I just want to mention, as someone who is self-studying for several subject tests and APs this year, although we do not offer the classes and the preparation, you can still find a site to take the exams. And I think what's really interesting is that, for example, for AP Biology, I am learning the material in the textbook whilst also creating projects related to that material. So we're kind of combining the Idea School PBL model and the AP curriculum. And that culminates in something really awesome, actually, I think.
Thank you, Sarah. We're going to, we know you have a lot more questions. And again, we encourage you to come to our parlor meeting and to reach out to us. And that's a good segue to our wrapping it up with admissions, to our wonderful Director of Admissions, Ms. Tamara Levin. And so I'd like to pass the mic to her.
Great, thank you, Ms. Weiner, and thank you, everybody. Everyone, students, you did a fantastic job. I'm obviously so proud of you. I am the Director of Admissions. Hi, Tamara Levin, nice to see you all. It is my privilege to work here in the school, in the office, and also with admissions with this incredible team. I will look forward to meeting all of you throughout the admission season and the admissions process. And like Ms. Peter said, this is just one touch point, this open house. This is great to see so many folks, but we know you have so many questions, and there were so many amazing questions that came through on the chat. I'm sorry we couldn't answer all of them, but this is a great opportunity for you to sign up for one of our upcoming parlor meetings, which will be on Sunday, the 15th of November, again on the 22nd of November, and on Wednesday, December 2nd. Please don't worry, you will get all of this in an email, and you can see all of it on our website, so you don't need to remember all of this. But the parlor meetings are like smaller sessions for you to be able to, ask any questions that you might have that maybe we didn't get a chance to answer to this evening. So please sign up for one of those. For you students, we will be having a school visit, like a PBL workshop, for you to come in and see what it's really like to do PBL at school and what high school could be like for you. That is scheduled for Thursday, December 3rd, and we will have multiple 1.5-hour sessions that you can come and attend. Space is limited, so when you do get your email after this session, there is a sign-up sheet, so please remember to reserve your space soon. And the application deadline is December 31st. Following that, once your applications come in, we will reach out to you to schedule an in-person tour and a virtual interview. And throughout all these points during the admissions process, we really hope to get to know you, and please ask us as many questions as you need to. We're here to answer everything, and we really want to make this an incredible experience for you as much as it is for us. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Levin. And just to close it out, I'm going to pass it back to Ezra and Sarah, who've done such a good job emceeing that I wanted them to have a chance to say goodbye and to show you.
Thank you, Ms. Levin, for a look into the admissions process, and thank you, Ms. Weiner. Unfortunately, everyone, this very fun evening is coming to a close, but as you may know by now, we're constantly doing projects at the Idea School, and nothing is ever really over here once it's begun. Everything is a process waiting to be revised, improved, and fulfilled. In the chat we had, you'll submit responses to a question about how creating and finishing a project makes you feel, and with those many wonderful responses, we have created a word cloud, which you can see on the screen.
So again, thank you to our wonderful faculty. Thank you to the students who hosted and who participated tonight. And thank you all for coming, and hopefully we will be in touch soon. Thank you.
Bye.